All right. Cool, man. Yeah, I definitely appreciate you guys, coming on. I Have you guys listened to the podcast at all?
Not yet. I don't really listen to much anymore, just besides my own voice on YouTube all the time.
I was gonna check it out the other day, but I don't have iTunes. Believe it or not, I have Samsung for my fucking devices, and I didn't feel like signing up for iTunes, so I couldn't access it. But
that's fine. I was trying to send you the
just so we could see the format and shit. How long do they generally go?
So the last one I think was like 45 minutes.
Okay.
I'm just kind of hoping that they get, a little longer, just kind of as we go. But basically, what the podcast is just kind of talking about like my journey as an entrepreneur, my first venture that I started, when I was in college and things like that. So, once that didn't work out, then that's when I kind of transitioned more to e-commerce. And so, honestly, I started off, obviously not doing drop shipping, but this is probably, the most successful that I've been, with e-commerce. So that's like, I wanted to, bring you guys on because it's so relative, to my podcast. And I think that you guys can provide a lot of value. Because there's been a lot of people who have been reaching out to me about drop shipping as well, just friends and family. So I think that, you'd be able to provide a lot of really good value. So.
Yeah. So is that mostly what your listener base is at this point, is friends and family?
Right now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right now it is.
Cool.
So, everybody, and the reason why, like, it's really organic that way, because all these people have seen, the ventures that I've done, especially with like the different pages on Facebook that I've created that they've got invites for and things like that. So, this is kind of more like a behind the scenes explaining like all that over the years. And then hopefully it'll kind of grow from there.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Sounds good, my friend.
All right. Let's see. Give me just 1 second here.
Get nice and close.
I feel like we have a better setup this time. Like we look normally a normal distance apart. Yeah. Usually it's like me. Like,
how do you like our backdrop? This is our new office space.
It's my favorite piece of art. I love it.
Yeah. I did see that. So, how do you like my backdrop? I don't know if you can see. You see?
It looks like
is that a towel?
No, it's a vinyl backdrop that I use to like take portraits of my daughter and shit.
Oh.
But I'm in my closet right now, so that's why I just put that up so you can't see.
You gotta get out of the closet, dude.
I'm working on it. All right, cool, man. Well, yeah, I definitely, like I said, appreciate you guys coming on to the podcast. And the very last episode, most recent episode, it was a second episode. It was talking about eBay dropshipping, how I got started, and, just kind of some of the different struggles that I've gone through in drop shipping, but along with my other ventures as well. And the reason why I wanted to have you guys on the podcast really was because even though you guys are seeing, quite a bit of success right now, I followed you, since you had 200 subscribers, and watched you just kind of make video after video talking about the different struggles and failures that you've had. Right. But that's not what a lot of people see. Everybody sees, how much money people make. And so I just really want this to kind of be a genuine insight into like what your experience has been in regards to, for Tom, eBay drop shipping, and for you, Jason, with Shopify.
Okay. I mean, Shopify is one of my things, but I could definitely focus the attention on Shopify if that's what you want.
Yeah. I mean, and you can go into detail about, other ventures as well. Cause I know we talked about you wanting to do other things aside from, even Amazon and things like that. So.
Yeah, I could definitely shed some light into that, but also like some of the behind the scenes stuff with growing, managing a Facebook group, content creation, SEO for YouTube, SEO for, just SEO in general. Like I could get a little bit into that. I don't know if like
that'd be awesome.
if your listeners are like into that, if that really fits the mold of where we're trying to go with this, but I can hit on some of those topics too.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be great. I actually have a friend who just joined like an e-commerce course. So he's in a group as well. So he's kind of learning about the SEO, the product
Mhm.
research and things like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we're supposed to get started. I mean, I just want to like preface this by saying that there's all these people and they're paying all this money to make all these ads and they have Lamborghinis and all that shit out there, but everybody sees this shiny object and they just kind of get drawn to it, I feel. And that's what I think is why the e-commerce like sphere at the moment is getting some pretty negative press, I would say, or just a lot of people saying, oh, like I got scammed, yada, yada, yada. But you kind of set yourself up for it. I mean, if you see somebody with a Lamborghini and they kind of just look like a douchebag, then they most likely are. And they're going to sell you a shit course and you're not going to make money on it. So, I mean, I think a lot of these people set themselves up for it, but I can see where they're coming from, mainly from like a desperation point of view, or, you know, they want the get rich quick scheme, which I guess everybody kind of
Everybody wants, right.
But it's a lot of hard work. I mean, I did not get started with eBay dropshipping right away. My mom always sold on eBay when I was a kid. She would always sell like antiques. She would go to thrift shops and buy things, is what she started doing when I was younger. She would go to estate sales and buy, like, she was really good at finding like jewelry and stuff. So she'd find all these massive bags of jewelry, and it's usually like costume jewelry, all this fake stuff. But if you go through and look through it and spend enough time and it got a magnifying glass, and you're going to find some gold in there. So she'll sell the gold and stuff like that. And what she does now is she buys and finds furniture on like the side of the road or Craigslist free section and refinishes it, paints it. And she brings it to the rich part of, a couple towns over from where we live and sells it for like double the price as if, where I grew up. So, I mean, I've kind of always seen the eBay, just, and my dad owned his own appliance repair company. So I've always seen like the hustle and stuff like that. So I feel like that's what pushed me. And I worked my 9 to 5. And I remember the first day coming home and I was like, Dad, that sucked ass. Yeah. He was like, yeah, you only have 39 years, 364 more days to go. And I was like, nah, that's not going to happen. That's not happening. But so I got started mainly, I came back from college. I had already sold on eBay before a few things when I was in college just to get beer money and stuff. But I came back from college. We graduated. I drove down to Key West with three other buddies. And when I was in Key West, we were trying to do like some jet skiing excursion. And I tried to use my debit card and I had negative $11 in my bank account. So I called my mom and I was like, I need some cash. So she fronted me some money to get home and, do whatever. And then when I got back, I was like, I need to sell things. So I just started selling all my old video games, all my N64 games and everything like that, because I don't have an emotional attachment. I know some people out there would be like, oh, I'll never sell my N64. Yeah, I don't give a shit. I'll sell that.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, I don't feel that. So I got rid of all that. I made like $1,000 because that stuff still goes for a lot of money. And then I realized, why not just buy these things for cheap and then sell them? So I was looking on Craigslist, saw people selling them. And like, I remember I picked up like a ton of video games one time for like $100. And the guy just looks at me, he has them in his trunk. He's like, do you want these too? And just hands me like another like $200 worth of video games for free. And I was like, all right, dude. Nice. So I just started, selling those. I remember my best one, I bought 2 Nintendo 3DSs with like 27 games, and like half of them are Pokemon games. And I bought it for, I think, $90, and I sold it for like $500 altogether.
Oh,
I mean, it sucks though. You have to part it out and, take pictures and test the games. If the games don't work, clean off the little prongs and stuff. So it's a lot of work. But I think the best month I had doing that was like $700 profit.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
No, it's really not, but it's manual. That was like another 25, 30 hours a week on top of that.
Right. And I'm glad that you really bring that up, because you go from talking about everybody wants the get rich quick scheme, right? It really doesn't exist. No. You know what I mean? Unless you're somebody who wins the lottery, like unless that type of, luck happens to you, that doesn't exist. Yeah. So going back to your mom selling on eBay, I also have an uncle who sells at the swap meet every week. He sells a lot of toys, but he'll also go to the thrift store and buy bikes, right? But he has to clean them up. He has to oil them. He has to, sand down the rust and do all these things, right? And so it's something as little as going to yard sales and buying old furniture, refurnishing it, or fixing up a bike and reselling it. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into that. And people tend to miss that a lot until they're like, yeah, I want to do something. Then they find out how much work it is, and they're like, it's not worth it. I'm going to go back to the 9 to 5. Yeah.
Or people sell it as being easy. And, like, I could make eBay dropshipping sound easy as possible. But then once you get down to the nitty gritty of it, you realize that it's really not.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work behind the scenes.
And I would like to talk a little bit about that too. One of the things we talk about a lot is, and you hear this term thrown around in e-commerce all the time, is passive income. Everybody wants this passive income life, the freedom lifestyle, just create these passive income streams and be collecting on them and live on an island somewhere with your feet up on a hammock. But the reality of e-commerce, or really owning and operating any business, is you have to put in the upfront work, and hopefully over time you can automate a lot of the processes, and you can outsource a lot of the work to people like virtual assistants or even local workers, and you can pass on most of that work, and then you can collect later on. But you have to put in the man hours up front to get to that point, and a lot of people forget about it. When we market our course, I always like to use the word semi-passive income. I don't like to say, you're build this e-commerce or eBay dropshipping empire and live a freedom lifestyle and, be collecting all this passive income. I say semi-passive income because even to this point, when we have a full team of virtual assistants, it's only semi-automated because we still have to go in there and check and make sure that the work's getting done and stuff like that. So that's why I don't like to throw that term around. And unfortunately, a lot of people out there on the internet are selling that type of lifestyle and that type of thing. And I don't really agree with that. So we don't try to market any of our products in that same way.
And I think that's one of the things that drew me, to you guys in the first place, was that there was just kind of that honesty, right? And what do you think makes, because you guys do it, I know no BS dropshipping, they're really honest about it. Like, what do you feel makes the eBay community different in being transparent on the fact that, like, hey, this is going to be a grind, as opposed to this is going to be an overnight success?
I think it's the barrier to entry, to be honest with you. A lot of people are able to just hop right into eBay dropshipping because, number one, they don't really vet out sellers. Like, if you've tried to sign up for Amazon, you have to, show all this proof that you're a legitimate business. You have all these, they have how many, like 15 different criteria, different things that you have to provide them before you actually get vetted out as a legitimate seller on Amazon. eBay, it's basically like you could get up in 5 minutes and now all of a sudden you're a seller. So I think there's a very small barrier to entry on eBay.
But I do think that not everybody sells it as being a grind. I know that there are people that do, but I do think that there are also people with the eBay dropshipping world that will say, hey, it's not that hard. Just use this program or just do this.
Wow.
And like, sometimes it is kind of, you might not have the right program or whatever, but that's not always the case. It's still going to take work, but I do think, like Jason said, the barrier to entry is a lot lower, but there are still going to be people out there that are just try to lead you blind into a trap of buying $1,000 course. And then you realize that you got given like the bare necessities of what to do and nothing really on the inside of how to run everything. Like, I can tell you, go on to Zik Analytics, find items, put them on eBay. Sure. Is that teaching you how to eBay dropship? Is that getting you farther than where you started? Possibly, if you started with not knowing anything. But then it's like, or go on to Amazon, get your return label and put it on eBay. But like, does anybody show it? Does anybody, like in the course, I feel like what we tried to do was actually show doing it. And that sucked because I had to blur out so much stuff that I was like, holy, this is awful. I'd rather just give you guys my account names. It's really not that secret.
I always thought about that too.
I'm sure the majority of the people out there have already sniped off my account. And like, so it's like, I really don't care.
Yeah. And I think that's right. So like let them snipe. You're just going to continue to do things differently as the game evolves, right?
Yeah, I'm always going to be ahead.
At the end of the day, with any business, your primary focus should be providing the customer value. If you're creating a course, how can you distinguish yourself from the other courses and provide more value than the other courses out there? If you're selling a product, how can you improve upon existing products and provide the customer value? And that's really the core of any business.
Yep. I agree.
Except eBay dropshipping, I guess.
I just wonder, how many people have tried it, eBay drop, and you might know better than I do because you get all the inquiries. But I'm just curious to know how many people say like, oh wow, that's pretty easy to get started. They get started and they realize, oh shit, this is a real business, right? And what goes into that, becoming a legitimate, LLC, becoming tax exempt, having to file taxes, having to, sit down with the CPA. And I think that is where people kind of are like stunned, so I'm just curious as to how many, like, how many people start and stop pretty quickly.
Well, from there, that's like what everything you just like listed off. That's when it becomes, it goes from being a hobby to like, oh shit, this is like me trying to become a legitimate business. And I think that's the differentiating factor and the main concern that a lot of people have. So they won't mind paying the $300 to make, the course investment. And then when they start like, oh, like this is more than just the little like hobby that I was doing on the side and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I think. I would say if I was to guess, and this might sound bad, but I would say it's well over 90%. Just start and then just go, I think it's human nature. I don't think there's really much you can do about it. And one thing I think is that a lot of people overestimate their abilities and say, oh, like I can do this. I'm willing to put in the time. I'm willing to do this. And then when it comes down to it, quite frankly, they'd rather watch Netflix and smoke.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that comes from how much of the shiny object that they see, right? And I feel like, not to like bash Shopify or anything like that, because I have like 2 or 3 Shopify stores and I've done it, right? I've done the Instagram influence. I've done the Facebook ads and things like that. I've had conversions. I have had success, but I think that's just a whole different level of e-commerce. It's on a whole nother side, right? Because as Jason had mentioned, you're dealing with the SEO. Now you're having to learn how to market. You're having to learn, what products are actually going to sell. It's not like you can go into Zik Analytics and say, oh, give me an item that's sold, 5 times.
Yeah.
No, you've got to find an item that's going to sell 1,000 times over, in order to get your ROI. And so I enjoy it. And that's eventually where I do want to go. And the reason for that is because you have the ability to build a brand. And that's what's really exciting to me. That's what I really like. And don't get me wrong, I love eBay dropshipping. I know that it gets really tedious and people get tired of it after a while. But it's a means to another end, right? And that I believe is Shopify or some other sort of creating a brand. But this for me right now, I feel is the right avenue, to go. And you guys are a big, reason for that. So, thank you guys, for that. And it's really, it's inspiring, to actually be at this point. Let's see, my first sale was June 17th. That was my very first sale. And, to be 6 months, now down the road, even though I'm not doing the numbers that I want to do or I sought out to do, it's pretty cool to say like, hey, I'm doing, $10,000, $15,000 a month in revenue, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can say that, for
not a lot of people even get to over 1,000. I mean, I've seen some people that are like, I can't break 1,000 in sales. And I was like, did you even try?
Yeah.
Like,
if you're not breaking 1,000, you're not, there's something else wrong. But yeah, if you want to, Jason, just kind of, elaborate a little bit, on Shopify, because I know people are more familiar, with the Shopify, and being able to build that. So if you want to go into that a little bit.
So I think with with Shopify, it's just coming at it with a different approach, right? Because when you're going at it with eBay dropshipping, you have to understand the context or the marketplace that you're selling on. With eBay or Amazon, the marketing is already built in. People are going there. I think that in marketing, it's called inbound. It's like inbound marketing. So all the marketing's already been done. Everybody knows eBay. Everybody goes to Amazon and eBay and they search for products and they know exactly what they want. So you have highly targeted customers already coming to your listings. They're probably going to buy because, you know, the offerings there. With Shopify, you have to build out everything. It's a lot of work. You have to drive the traffic, and people underestimate how hard it is to drive quality traffic. And in this day and age, you see so many people like Ty Lopez. I mean, the gurus go on and on and on. But essentially,
he's my favorite.
Yeah, if you don't have ad blocker, I'm sure you're seeing all these ads pop up on YouTube every day selling the next big Shopify course.
Right.
And such. But the reality of it is you need to have an understanding. I wouldn't even say an understanding. I would say you need to be very proficient with SEO. SEO is search engine optimization. You need to have your listings and your website come up in front of people at the right time. You need to understand how to market. That includes email marketing, SMS marketing, Facebook ads, Google ads, remarketing or retargeting, as some people call it. That's hitting people that are already hot leads. You have to hit them with content over and over again, coming up with email sequences, automations. You have to understand all these things. And for just an average Joe, like, I mean, we were both average Joes. We didn't have any understanding in marketing. We didn't go to school for marketing. We both have engineering backgrounds. And to come out and have to learn all that stuff, it's very, very daunting. I went in 2016, I went to, I think it was like Barnes & Noble, you know, one of those bookstores, and I got an SEO for Dummies book. Greatest investment I've ever made to date. That includes all my courses that I purchased, everything that I've ever purchased. The best investment I made was a book on SEO for Dummies. Wow. And I learned so much from that book to date. I mean, I'm not an SEO wizard, but I definitely know a lot more than the average person when it comes to SEO. And that has helped drive so many conversions organically to my website that I didn't have to put in all that ad spend on Facebook. I mean, a little bit about my Shopify store. I actually
can't run Facebook ads.
I can't run Facebook ads. I can't run Google ads because I'm in the 18 plus niche. So they have restrictions, basically saying that you can't go and target, and understandably so, because you don't want minors seeing this kind of these kind of products and stuff. So I have to think outside the box, and SEO became my primary target because you know we're all on. All my competitors and myself, we're all on an even playing field. None of us can use Facebook ads. None of us can use Google ads. And so the only competitive advantage I could think of at the time was, you know, getting my SEO game way up. So that's what I did. And I ended up reaping the rewards, but I had to be patient. I didn't really start getting sales till 6-8 months later. And then, you know, further down the line, really start to hone that in. But a lot of people get disappointed. They're saying, oh, I'm spending this amount of money every month on Shopify, you know, because you have to pay for plugins and you have to pay for a store and you have to pay all these things. But if you can build this out and stay patient and continue the grind over 6 to 12 months, then you're probably going to see the rewards pay off. Yeah. And a lot of people aren't patient enough to do that. So that's just a little bit about how I went about it. And anybody who's listening out there, if you have more questions, maybe you can drop our Facebook usernames or something. People can hit me up.
We'll repost this on YouTube too. So.
We actually just started a new Facebook group called Shopify Dropshipping University, which is kind of like an offshoot of our main group. And I wanted to focus that group on Shopify, because we get a lot of people asking Shopify questions in our main group, and we're just trying to tailor it a little bit more for eBay, Amazon dropshipping in the main group. So if anybody's listening and wants to learn more about this, definitely try to reach out, find our Facebook group.
Link in the description.
And
there you go.
I can help people out individually there too.
Yeah, and I'll do like I did on the last Facebook post and just kind of provide just the different resource links for everyone. 'Cause I actually do have quite a few friends who do want to get interested in Shopify, and I just think that you guys can provide a huge like alternate perspective on what everyone has been hearing, right? And that's what I think is really cool about you guys is you continue to try new things, you promote the things you like, and then if you find out like that thing that you promoted, maybe didn't work, like you're never afraid to say like, hey, this probably wasn't the best idea.
Yeah.
And I think that's what got me to continue, listening and watching you guys. And it's just been really cool to see both of your success. I mean, you moving, in with Jason, just to try to make, things progress, right? And I think that's huge. That sacrifice. You had made the comment that you've never been on any other, time zone other than, Eastern time, and so just kind of making those, that's a drastic change. I don't know if you have family in Colorado or whatnot.
Supposedly I do. I found out I do.
Distant cousins.
I got invited to their Christmas party next Wednesday.
That could be fun or awkward.
Probably going to be weird at first, I could imagine.
So and that's another reason why I wanted to have you on the course, was because you're not just doing one thing, and it's not like you're trying to do a shotgun approach, right? But you're constantly trying to progress what it is that you're doing in business. I know that you just started Amazon dropshipping, and that's been it seems like relatively successful, even though you've just gotten started. Can you talk a little bit about what your experience has been with that versus eBay dropshipping?
Yeah. Well, first I'd like to touch upon just like what you said earlier about, I promote what I like, and then I, tell people if that wasn't the best idea. And that's what I think is missing with a lot of people on these channels or these ads or groups or anything like that. It's like they just stay so stuck in their way on one program or one thing. And then they're like afraid to tell people that it wasn't the best or something. And I don't want to call anybody out here, so I'm not going to, but like I've seen it happen in the eBay dropshipping sphere too. And people are just pushing these ass programs, and then they like a year later they change. Like, oh yeah, this is the new program I'm using. And I'm like, dude, what? Like, that program sucked from the get-go. And it's like, I don't understand that. I'm fully okay. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people are afraid to do. They're afraid to make these changes. Yeah. And I noticed that with, some of the not as technologically advanced people, they're not as good with computers. They're like, oh, well, I just learned this program. And it took me like months. And then they're like, oh, right, you want me to move to the next one. But for me, I'm like, I'm constantly, if that's not the best, if that's not what I think is the best at that point in time, I'm changing. And I'm going to go find something else. And I'm always coming to Jason like, yo, dude, check out this program. Dude, check out this program. Jason's like, how are you finding these? I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like they just come to me in my research. And so, I mean, that's why I'm okay with moving around, doing different things. Like I started off with SKU Grid. I think I listed one item with SKU Grid, and I completely just went away from them. And now I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4 different programs away from that. And I'm coming back to it. And I'm like, oh, we might need to start using this now again, use some different suppliers. Right. They got 700 suppliers. Nobody has anywhere close to that. So, I mean, it's always trying to see what the next thing is, but also just being transparent with it. Like if, I'm done with SKU Grid, I'm done with Website Group, I'm done with Website Group, I'm done with Sale Freaks, I'm done with Sale Freaks. Like that's, and I'm going to tell you what I'm moving on to. And of course I'm going to plug my affiliate link, but like, I would hope that nobody really gets that upset about it. But some people seem to. But so
you can't make
with Amazon dropshipping, what's up?
You can't make everyone happy.
No, you cannot. We've realized that. Once you get bigger, there's going to be some haters. But with Amazon dropshipping, I mean, I really do think that nobody should start off with that. At least the retail arbitrage side of it. Because I spent 5 days in Nicaragua with Rico from Two Dudes, and it's like AliExpress private label dropshipping from China onto Amazon. Supposedly it's not against the terms of service. It's like in this gray area. So therefore, there's a way to get banned anywhere. But I mean, there's less of a chance for getting banned for that than there is with retail arbitrage. So if you want to start with that, I've seen people start with that. I've seen people have success with that. And, you know, the profits are way higher. You don't have to push the same amount of product to get the same amount of money. But I know retail arbitrage. I know Walmart to Amazon is so easy. Like I almost got drop shipped on Amazon the other day. I was looking at this product and I was like, ooh, you know, it looks good. And then I'm like, wait, nobody's selling this Prime. And then like, there's 41 people on this listing. Let me go check if this is on Walmart. And I checked and there it was. It was on Walmart and I bought it on Walmart. So,
oh, wow.
I was like, so
it's shopping. So that's good to know.
If it's not Prime, I wouldn't buy it. If it's not Prime, it's probably coming from somewhere else.
Huh, interesting.
I mean, that's just kind of the way I'm looking at things. I'm like, well, this is what I know how to do. So, I mean, I dragged my feet on it for a while, but once the sales started to slow down in the beginning of November, I was like, all right, I have time and really a push and a need to try to get into something else. And although I am trying to, you know, do something different with eBay dropshipping, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into just one thing. Yeah. So that's why I was like, all right, this is the time to start Amazon. I've been in talks with Ron Myers, who runs Web Scraper app, for literally 6 months. Like we've done one-on-ones. He's taught me what I need to do or showed me like, all right, to get me started. He onboarded me a while ago. And then it was so long that I forgot everything that he taught me. So I had to like go relearn it. I had items up for like 3 months just sitting there with like a very high profit margin so that they wouldn't sell until I finally got ready to do it. And then I was wow. I was like, fuck it, I'm doing it. I deleted all those items. I listed everything the way it's supposed to be listed. And I literally only listed 120 items. And I know it's Christmas, so sales are probably wild, which I know they are. And there's only like 80 of them are active at any time, 80 to 90. And hopefully by tomorrow or today, I'll hit 10,000 in sales for the last 30 days. And it hasn't even been a full 30 days. And I shut my store down for 5 days because I was like traveling and stuff. So, I mean, it's there. And the profits are higher. I've seen higher front-end profits on Amazon, which I thought was going to not be a thing because there's so many people that do Walmart to Amazon. But when you look at some eBay listings, there could be like Zick will show you the competition.
Right.
It could be like 200 plus people on a listing, literally 200. Yeah. That's when you know that there's that many more people doing Amazon to eBay or eBay dropshipping in general than Amazon, because the most I've ever seen, like, I mean, I've seen 50, I've seen 70, I think once, but the majority of them are like 20, 25. And as long as you have a competitive margin, then you just need to make sure that you get in the buy box. And if your metrics are good, your feedback's good, then you're going to get the buy box.
Yeah.
You'll rotate through the buy box with other people. So, I mean, even if you're at 5% buy box or 6% buy box, which I think I am, which I don't even think is that good. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have in like the 18s to 20s if they're good. But, I mean, for me, it's $10,000 in sales in less than 30 days with like negative experience on Amazon general. Like I don't even know how to use the full back end dashboard yet. I don't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
I message Amanda Kaufman every time I have a question. She helps me out. It's pretty sweet.
I have no idea who that is.
She's on Mark's channel a lot. She just dropped an Amazon course. She's gonna be on my she's gonna be on my channel on maybe Wednesday.
Okay, gotcha.
So I mean, I would not suggest starting off with it. Really learn eBay. And if you're going to do like something weird onto Amazon, like a lot of people do, a lot of different sources like Newegg and things like that, then I would definitely test that out on eBay first. And then make sure that their shipping's fine. Make sure that they don't really give a shit if you're drop shipping from their like platform, and then move that onto Amazon. Because you can't make the same mistakes that you can on eBay. Like I've taken $10 losses on items on Amazon because on eBay I would have just canceled it. And you can do that on Amazon. There's ways to cancel things, but I would just rather not do that and not piss a customer off when I'm such a small seller at the moment. Then, you know, do the right on eBay. I'll just whatever, cancel like 10 a day if I needed to. But on Amazon, I'm not going to do that. So
right.
It's much more thorough game.
And I think I'm kind of the same way with eBay, because I will take that hit, but only because I'm not as big of a seller as someone like yourself, right? I'm still trying to grow, you know, and still trying to do those things. But I can absolutely, you know, understand doing that. And for those of you listening, you know, I've set up an Amazon seller account and I've logged into it probably twice, because I mean, once you open it up, like, your head just spins. Like there's a lot of like it's not very intuitive. I mean, it's not very user friendly. And there's really a lot of things that you've got to figure out. And so I was afraid of like messing things up. And so for that reason, I shut my account down, because it is like, I mean, you're having to manage inventory and do all of that stuff. And I think that's where I eventually want to go. But again, this is the eBay thing for me right now. I'm really enjoying it because I'm learning a lot as the business begins to progress. And just kind of talking about like the softwares that you were mentioning, going back to that, I was using DSM tool up until probably 3 weeks ago is when I switched over to SailFreaks. And I know everybody, says that DSM tool is, the worst tool, out there and things like that. But for me, it worked fine. Yes, there were things that were missed and whatnot. However, once it was time to take my store to the next level, that's when I felt it was appropriate to move on to a more powerful tool. So that's when I decided to make that jump. But again, you have to be willing to do that, right? It was more upfront capital. I've even had to do different things just for switching over to SailFreaks. And what I mean by that is SailFreaks has the auto order, right? And obviously November sales have been down, or November sales were down for all of eBay, right? And so that was the big reason why I wanted to switch over to SailFreaks in the first place. Was I was just like, something's got to change.
Yeah.
And then what I did was I applied a 5% promotion to my entire store for every single product. Well, as obviously you guys know, and my listeners know, because I've told them, front end profit itself is about 5%. And so from that standpoint, you're almost, breaking even. So where I would need to make up on that is, number one, I had the city double cashback, which is only 2%. And so now what I've done is my wife got the American Express for Amazon, which is 5%. So there's an additional 3%. And where I'm going with that is now I'm able to plug that credit card with a decent limit to cycle through and be able to pay, and also be able to use the cashback website. So now that increases my profit back up to, maybe 5-6%. I don't know what the average is on the cashback sites, but though I'm just having to do like little things like that as the business, changes, and you're constantly having to pivot. And you never expect it, right? You're like, oh, okay, cool. I got a credit card. But now you're like, no, now I got to pay an additional subscription fee to set up the auto order. And then I got to do this, and then I got to do this, right? And for me, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but for me, that's kind of the exciting part, is you constantly have to pivot, and you constantly have to problem solve.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of people fall behind. It's because they don't have the ability to think for themselves as well. And they're always waiting for somebody like me or somebody like Mark or whatever to tell them what to do. And if you have to wait for me to tell you what to do, bro, you're already fucking too late. Like, you missed the train, because I have a backlog of videos that I plan on making. And, unless it's an extremely crazy update, I'm not going to make a video on it right away. It's going to just possibly fall into the backlog, or I have no backlog of videos, which doesn't seem to be a thing because I have like 15 videos that I want to make right now. So, I mean, you need to be able to think on your feet and just go out there, and you need to understand the business 100% in order to make these updates. And why is it that every time I'm doing something live, somebody messages me on Facebook? All right, you can give your.
I was just going to say about that point, to people who are listening, if you want to get into any business, not just e-commerce, but any business, you have to be adaptable.
Yeah.
Adaptability is by far the most important characteristic when it comes to entrepreneurship. And so many times you get comfortable with a program, or you get comfortable with a business model, you get comfortable with there's so many aspects of running a business where you feel like you got comfortable with that. And now all of a sudden there's a policy change, or maybe there's even with tariffs, I was doing a lot of importing from China, and then now all of a sudden there's political stuff going into it, and we have to deal with tariffs. Now that's something that's not, I can't control that. But as an entrepreneur, what I can do is I can pivot. I can adapt the strategies that I've already put into place, the processes that I've already put into place, and now make up for that by doing something different. And if you can't do that, then I don't think that, not obviously you, Anthony, but anybody who's out there listening,
right.
If you can't do that, if you can't adapt quick enough, then you're not gonna succeed in business, in my opinion.
And I'm a big believer in that it's a different type of person. I believe the world needs the people of the 9 to 5. But I also think that the world needs, rule breakers like us, the people to kind of really, push the envelope, because I know for myself, it's really hard for me to be, in an office at a desk, even though I was getting paid, pretty well, for what I was doing. It wasn't what I wanted to do. And so it was almost a sacrifice for me to be in a 9 to 5. And so I just feel like my brain works differently, and I feel like you guys are the same as well. So, I mean, when I had gotten fired from my job, actually. I basically scheduled my own firing, if you will.
There you go.
I got fired and, had nothing, had no job. And I'm I was the sole provider. My wife is working now. But my wife wasn't working. I have a 2-year-old daughter and no job, right, at the end of the day. And so what I decided to do was drive Grubhub. And so Grubhub has been, it's been okay, but it's a catch-22, right? It's a sacrifice for me to be in an office. However, I'm making a steady income. Or is it a sacrifice, or is it more of a sacrifice for me to, be broke, but have the liberation of not working for someone, being able to work on my business. And for me right now, I've chosen that the better sacrifice is, to just have less money.
Yeah.
And that's because that's just the way that my mind works. And I'm okay with that. I'm content with that,
Yeah. Anthony, are you familiar with the concept of opportunity costs?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So that plays right into what you were saying with the opportunity costs. And I know for Tom and I, one of the opportunity costs that you could definitely evaluate in our lifetime was going to college, going to a 4-year college, getting our degrees. And essentially, I worked at a pharmaceutical company for 1 week, literally 1 week. Okay?
Wow.
And
kid's a baller.
I decided that it wasn't for me. But in that moment too, I decided that it would be a bigger opportunity cost for me to stay at that current job than it would be to take the risk and try being self-employed and growing a business.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, you could say going to school, we went to a very expensive school. Like, what was the tuition was over $50,000.
When we graduated, it was like $64,000 to $68,000 a year.
But another part of this opportunity cost that people forget about is that 4-year time slot. So not only are you paying to go to an institution for 4 years, but you're spending that time in your life
getting fucked up,
basically partying and going to the library, getting work done. You don't have a job. You're not growing professionally. You're not growing a business. You're just educating yourself and paying a lot of money to do so. So in my opinion, everybody goes through these periods of their life where they do something that maybe they didn't want to do, or they listened to society or their parents and they did what everybody else expected them to do. And then one day they decided that it's time to go on and take on a business or something like that. And that's what we did. And to be honest with you, I have no regrets about doing it, even though, my parents gave me a lot of shit for it. Well, especially my mom, but because in their perspective, they just want what's best for me. And maybe they see a $50,000 or $60,000 corporate job as the way to do it.
They want you to be safe. I don't think that any parent really hates you for quitting your job or doing anything. I think they just think that you'd be safer, and I think they just care about your safety is what it is. And they see that, oh, you just went to school, got a chemical engineering degree, were getting paid pretty well. And now you're just buying and selling cell phones on the internet is what I started off doing. My mom's like, what the hell is that? I'm like, I'm quitting my job, Mom. I'm not doing it. But one thing that I think Jason was talking about that, I mean, I don't regret college one bit, mainly because of the fact that I think what we learned in college, especially a strenuous, like top tier engineering school in the country, was that we learn, like, you have these teachers and these teachers suck, and half these teachers aren't teaching you anything. They're like, oh, you got to test next week. And you have to go in there and teach yourself everything that you need. So you need to either look at the notes and then decipher that shit, or maybe you're sleeping through class, and then, or go into your textbook and then literally learn everything, learn all these example problems, do everything that you need to succeed, and then pass, and then literally purge all the information out because you got another test on something else the next week, or finals week, you got 3 in 1 day or 3 in 2 days. And projects where you're producing, like my final project for college was 140 pages long. And that was like, I had another one that was like another 70 pages. So like, I'm writing like novels over here.
Degree, man.
And things like that. It's like, we put in so much work and effort on it, where when we got into the entrepreneurial world, like me sitting down at my desk and working for like 14 hours straight was just something that I did every Sunday at school, hungover as hell. Like that's basically all I did. So we learned those skills, which I really don't think anybody that goes to a community college or doesn't go to college does not really get pushed to do something like that. And like even in high school, I did my homework in the class beforehand. And I was smart enough just to get by and get into a good school for wrestling and for my brain. And then once you get into like the real school, you're like, oh, damn, this is like.
It's a slap in the face.
Yeah. And you're like, I'm paying $60,000 a year for this. Like, I'm not going to suck. Like, you can't fail out your classes. The only class I failed was wrestling because I quit. But like, besides that.
I mean, essentially what we paid to acquire from college, and we've talked about this a lot, is we learned how to learned how to develop that knowledge base, essentially. And I think we see this in our course a lot. I go through and I can see the activity log that the members in our course go through. So if you log in, I can see when you log in. If you did this section or module, I can see if you did that. And a lot of times you see these people and they drop off, and they spend all this money to take our course, and they're committed hopefully to this business, and they didn't even spend a couple hours to go through the course and actually learn the material. That's so insane. We can help you as much as we possibly can, but I can't force somebody to succeed at this. And a lot of times they fall short because they haven't put in the work to get there. And that's what we've seen is 90% of the people aren't putting in the work to get there.
I think that's the problem, right? Is they think that the course is going to be a template for, them making instant money. And that's why they buy it. And when they find out like, oh, well, the course is just telling me that I need to do everything. Well, yeah, but it's also telling you how to do those things, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly what to do,
the reason I bought the course was I wanted to make sure that I was doing the things I was doing correctly, right? And so I bought the course like almost as a checklist, not as like, hey, this is a course. Exactly. Because I mean, quickly, right? Once you finish the course, it gives you all, everything that you need to make sure everything is set up and flowing properly. But I mean, you have to account for the variables, right, in a business, and people just don't want to do that.
There's variability, there's learning curve, there's possible changes that happen. You can't keep the course 100% up to date. If anybody says they're doing that, they're not. It's impossible. So I mean, I'm getting contacted by people, and I think you contacted me the other day about it too. It's like, oh, I can't connect my PayPal to my new account. And I was like, what? And then you were like the third or fourth person that messaged me that. I'm like, oh, there must be an issue. And then when I looked into it more, I guess since eBay's splitting from PayPal, they're not even giving it as an option anymore to connect your new account to PayPal.
Right.
So all my new accounts are actually old accounts that I've set up before. And I didn't do it on purpose. I did it mainly because I made one for the course. I made one for something else. When I was selling cell phones, stuff like that. So I have 5, 6, 7 accounts that have already been made, set up, and connected to PayPal. So when I made this new account, I didn't really even know that was a thing because I had already made that account. So
Right. And that's what I had figured too. But again, it's just things change. And you just have to be able to adapt. But yeah, going back to what you were saying about college, it's like you're paying all this money. And I thought I was smooth sailing. When I went from the community college, it was easy. I mean, it was just like high school.
Oh, I know. I went to community college for a semester.
Yeah. So it was
I didn't get homework. Like, what? I took 5 engineering classes that transferred to WPI, and I did not get homework.
Wow. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, this is, high school all over again. And I get into Arizona State, and you walk through the door and you're just getting slapped in the face left and right. I mean, teachers,
Oh, yeah.
I remember, and this is no exaggeration. It was a statistics class. And this teacher, I mean, she knew statistics like the back of her hand. It was just, it was nuts. She would literally teach, and she would look at the class as she's writing formulas up on the whiteboard without looking. And that's how fast like she was teaching. And so I remember one day after class, I was like, I remember looking around and people were like, dang, like this girl's like, she's fast. Like nobody's like, everybody's head's like kind of spinning, right? Except for like the stat majors who are like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
And so I asked her after class, I was like, hey, like, there's a few people who are kind of struggling, like keeping up with your pace. Like, do you think you can, slow it down a little bit? And she literally turned around and told me, she goes, I can't, she basically said, I can't dumb down my level of teaching to compensate for the people who can't follow along. She's like, if you're having that hard of a time, she's like, you can come to my previous class. So I had to go to her same class, the previous one, and just listen. And then on the second time in, I would have to take notes.
Damn.
And she was just like, it was no mercy. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how college is. But I remember Jason was the king of no note taking, and that kid still did pretty well. We got the same grade in organic chemistry too, and the kid sat there with his hood on and with his jacket and didn't take a note the single time. Yeah. It was pretty mind blowing.
So did you guys go to the same college?
We went to the same college. We were in the same fraternity.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So when did you, I guess we didn't even, I've never had a guest, so we didn't even do an intro. So I guess we could do it backwards and then just re-edit it. Are you able to cut in?
Yeah, I mean, I can cut things, but
like,
I don't think it matters too much, but yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. But just to give people like an idea and background of you guys, where you come from, what you're doing, what sales are like. And if you want, profit, things like that, just to give people an awareness.
Yeah. So basically my name's Tom Cormier, Ecom Tom on YouTube. And so at the moment I started off, like I said at the beginning of this, flipping stuff on eBay. I moved into cell phones, which I didn't really talk about. And there's some groups out there that you'll see people buying and selling cell phones, and it's lucrative. That's when I quit my job. I was like, my number one plan was to sell cell phones. And one month, I think it was July of 2017, I bought some amount of cell phones and I sold them for $13,000 like over that month. And the profits around like 25-30%. And that was after my job. So like I was working 9 to 5 and that was it. So I was like, all right, it's a little sketchy and you got to go to the ghetto, but it's better than working my 9 to 5 and I think I could scale it. And then eventually I was like, this is just too much work. I don't want to, you have to rely on other people for the business. You have to meet up with them. You have to be on their schedule, which I didn't like. So that's when I was also flirting with eBay, dropshipping at that point in time, not really doing very much. And I was like, let's just get into this hard. And then 2 months into eBay dropshipping, I quit my job, which I don't think was the best idea. Yeah, but I saved up enough money where I thought I could be literally homeless for a while and still survive. So, I mean, I did that. But right now, sales are lower than they were. September, I hit 198,000 or 194,000.
Did you get that high, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So September was wild. All those open box items really were getting pushed. I hit like 115,000 on one account. But so the profit margin, it really depends on how diligent you are, because a lot of people say, oh yeah, I get 7.5 to 8% profit. Yes, that's front end. I get 7.5 to 8%, well, not front end, but altogether 7.5 to 8% profit. But you have to think about, like, are you paying attention to your PayPal cases? Are you paying attention to your eBay cases? Are you losing these cases and not knowing how to get the money back? Because every single case that I lose, if I know that I should have won, I know a way to get my money back. And I mean, I made a whole list on Saturday night before we went out, and it was just like items that I lost when I shouldn't have. And I mean, I tracked back, and that was in the last 2 months because I'm not as diligent on it as I should be. I tracked back at least $400 something. So
really,
yeah, easily. So then there's that. I haven't even looked into my recent PayPal cases. So you got to think about it that way. There's software. There's, you got to pay for your virtual assistants, but front end, profit before expenses is about 7.5 to 8% on whatever you make. So right now, I'm guessing in the month of December, I'm going to break 100,000. I'm pretty much on the path to do that. Again, November was like 95,000. It was a bad month. Like everybody had a bad month. But so December, I will definitely hit 100,000. But like I'm okay with keeping it at 100,000. Like if eBay just becomes a replacement for what my 9-to-5 job was, and then I have everything else, then I'm okay with that.
That's my goal. That's my goal.
And I'm going to start Amazon. Then we have our course, and we have YouTube, and we're making money off YouTube monetization, which we didn't even know was a thing. I mean, we did, but we didn't realize how much money you make off of it. So affiliate.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm going to use the restroom. I got to go to the restroom.
Yeah, that's all good, dude. All right. Yeah, we're back. I forgot where I was at, but I was talking about eBay dropshipping. And I mean, like I said, so if my eBay dropshipping minus all my expenses and everything can cover, $3,000-$4,000 a month, like with minimal effort, because right now I'm doing literally the bare minimum. I'm tracking down money in cases that we've lost because it's a case-to-case basis. I think you need some sort of expertise. You can't really train a VA to do it. You can, but I would rather train like my sister to do it or something because I feel like she'd be better at it. But if it can do 3,000-4,000 cover, what my job used to almost cover, then, why not just work into other things? I've proven proficiency in it, and I've proven that I know how to scale the business up enough. But why if you're going to go like $500,000 a month on eBay, you're going to pigeonhole yourself into it with time and resources. So why not spread it out over everything else? Like I have a rental property, Amazon dropshipping, eBay dropshipping, course sales, YouTube, affiliate links. We have that software, Tracker Jack. I mean, I completely forgot about it, and we got $200 sent to us yesterday. So that's just awesome. Things like that. They all add up.
Perfect. All right. And both of you are chemical engineer degrees?
No, I am. Jason's a poser. He's a bio major.
Biotechnology and biology with a minor in economics. Throw that one in there.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'll just stick with my my business admin degree.
Hey, that's more focused than either of our degrees.
Yeah. So Jason,
working with some fundamentals there.
Yeah. So Jason, talk about how you got started and your background a little.
So my name is Jason Mernier. I've been in e-commerce since beginning of 2016, the year I graduated college, and I basically just started out of necessity. I don't come from a lot of money. My parents are very middle class, blue collar type people. I got 2 brothers. I mean, I never came from money. I grew up with a lot of people who did come from money because I went to private schools, and so I was around those types of people. But I never came from money, so my parents always kind of drove it into me that you have to work for everything. You got no allowances. You didn't go on big vacations, nothing like that. So I decided after I graduated, I need some money because I really had like $500. I bootstrapped the hell out of my businesses.
Oh, wow.
And I started so many different things. I started looking at seeds because I think it was like February of 2016. And I was looking at like seeds, like garden seeds, watermelon, squash, like just generic ass seeds. And I started buying them from this wholesale company in Nevada. And I did the math, and they were coming out to about less than a penny a seed. So I would sell them in bundles of 25 and 50 seeds, and then I'd sell them on eBay, and I just, send them in those little business envelopes with stamps on them. So
You put them in a drug baggie or anything?
I put them in like a little dime bag, a little drug bag. And I had no branding. I mean, I didn't have anything, but I was flipping these and I was getting some sales. I was getting some traction, $1 here, 50 cents here, $1.50 there. And it just kind of sparked in my mind. This is hopefully something that I can scale. Just the idea of buying products at a cheap price and then reselling them on the internet. Yeah. So that's kind of where I got my basis for e-commerce. And then I started importing from China. Now, a lot of people have it in their head that, oh, China, it's such a foreign place. I don't understand logistics. I don't understand. I'm going to get scammed. I'm going to get all ripped off, all this stuff. And people are scared to try and take a risk and buy products from China. Well, every business out there knows that you can get products so cheap from China. Mm-hmm. So I decided, let me take a chance. I'll buy some stuff on DHgate, and they're just generic goods. And I did it intelligently. I didn't just go out and get the MOQ, which they say minimum order quantity of 500 products or 1,000 products. I didn't have that kind of capital. Yeah. So I contacted them and I was like, can you send me samples of 25? So I'd take those samples and then resell them on Amazon and eBay and see what the demand was. That was my test to see what the market demand for a product was. And if I saw the demand was high, then I'd reorder 100, 200, maybe 500, and I scaled that way. And it worked out beautifully. But the only problem was I was selling products that were restricted on Amazon and eBay. So I'd put these listings up, native listings. I'd make them. I'd get the UPC codes. I'd do all the SEO and titles. And then maybe a week later, they'd get taken down. So I'd put all this effort in, and then my listings would get taken down. And obviously, that's not the best way to do it. But I was able to actually make enough money in those couple weeks that the listings were active, that I was able to actually produce enough money to start a Shopify store, start a real brand, and take it out of Amazon and eBay's playground, essentially. And From there, everything just kind of cascaded. I learned some fundamentals of business. I learned how to market. And about a year and a half into my e-commerce journey, Tom kind of reconnected with me from because we hadn't talked much after college, but then we kind of reconnected, and he was like, hey man, I'm doing this cell phone flipping. So I started talking to him about e-commerce, and then it just kind of naturally turned into dropshipping. He got into a cell phone flipping course, right? Yeah. And he gave me the course login, and we both took the course and we learned some bare fundamentals of eBay dropshipping, and we both just started going with it. And over the course of a couple months, we were meeting up, we were sharing ideas, we'd call each other every single day, strategize, tell each other about these new programs we found out, tax exemption, like the whole 9 yards. And before we knew it, we had a legitimate business. Both of us had legitimate businesses, and we were scaling them effectively. And at the same time, I had these other businesses that were going on, so I hedged myself and diversified from the beginning. And yeah, so now we're just, we came out with that course in the spring of last year, eBay dropshipping. I do something I like to call keystone dropshipping on Amazon. I'm not going to get into that too much, but
Google it. Yeah.
It's not even a thing. I made this word up, and it's going to come out, and people are going to be like, holy shit, this is awesome. That's cool. Essentially what that is I go and contact wholesalers that will also take care of fulfillment for me. So some people call them wholesale distributors, whatever. Mm-hmm. And they're domestic people. So if I get an order on Amazon, I can go and contact that wholesaler and say, send this product to this customer, and they sell it to me at keystone price, which is true wholesale. So if a product retails at 100, I'll buy it from them for $50, and then they charge me a small drop shipping fee of about $2, and then the shipping cost. So I'm making what's in between there, which generally comes out to about 30% profit margins, way higher than any online retail arbitrage strategy.
For wholesale, that's amazing for wholesale, because usually wholesale
exactly. Yeah, so that's another thing that I got going on, but I'm also the guy who does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff with our course of content creation, sales pages, email sequences, SEO, that kind of thing. So I try to learn as much as I can, and Tom and I divvy up the work in such a way that it makes sense for us.
Right. That's awesome, man. And I think that's really cool that, it seems like between the both of you, like I got started the same exact way. I was buying, I got started on the 3G version of the iPhone. That's when I started buying cell phones.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
couple of them I bought were stolen.
Oh, of course. I was doing that for a while. I fully knew it too.
Did you? Some of these I
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Yeah, some of them I didn't.
Then I was like, hey, I should probably stop this. Like, this guy keeps coming to me with 6 stolen cell phones every week. I don't know how he's getting these.
Oh my God.
There's some pretty nice ones though. You caught some pretty good profit.
Yeah, for sure. So I started doing that, and then kind of once Apple started kind of cracking down, like, and it just got a little harder to get a hold of them. Then I moved on to stereo systems, and what I would do is I would buy like higher end amps like JL Audio and things like that, and I would put them together as stereo packages. So I'd sell the speakers, I'd sell the stereo, the amp, and do it that way until I started, doing everything online. And to Jason's point, importing from China, that's my shit. Like, I love doing that. Like I would be up on Skype till like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, talking to these people, trying to make sure that everything is correct. And it's great. Like it's perfect. I mean, the quality is always good. I get my items within like 3-4 days. There is definitely a misconception of importing from overseas.
Yeah.
Right. But it's fun. Like I've even bought Rosetta Stone to try to learn Mandarin.
Really?
Yeah, because my ultimate
Why
goal.
buy it when you can torrent it, dude? Come on. I torrented Rosetta Stone.
Did you really? That's awesome. To learn Tagalog for your VAs.
No, I don't know. I just did it for Spanish because I like Spanish.
Oh, for Spanish. So yeah, like my goal is to eventually, go overseas and actually develop and manufacture a product. That's truly what I want to do. That's where my passion is. The first business that I started was actually an item that I had manufactured overseas. I was prototyping it in Phoenix when I was in school. Then that obviously was no longer feasible, so I had to move it overseas. And I mean, once I did that, I fell in love. The really cool thing that I love about China is they're on it. I mean, they are super on it. And what I mean by that is I was selling prohibited products on eBay as well. So when the weed pens and the Snoop Dogg pens and things like that were like really popular, that's when I first started, like actually importing inventory and items and selling them on eBay. Well, yeah, eBay started, so I would sell 10 of them, and then eBay would take down the listing and basically cancel the sale, right? And so I had no idea what happened to the sale. So then what I figured out was there was a workaround. As soon as somebody bought it, I would mark it as shipped. And I would purchase the shipping label immediately after I got the sale. So then it would be there. I would have their information, and then I'm able to send it to them. And so when eBay doesn't have anything to cancel at that point. So that's how I got around it. But I fell below standard, and they restricted my account for like 6 months after a while of not shipping on time and things like that. So, I think it's definitely cool how you guys have really just pivoted, even in the 6 months that I've, tuned in. So,
yeah, I mean, I went through all the YouTube videos that I started making. We started making YouTube videos in June. I went through and edited all the descriptions today, and just like the evolution of literally the first video to now, I'm like, holy shit, that is wild.
I forget what video it was. It was one of the early ones I had went back and watched it. It might have been sourcing Walmart items off of Zip. And you were like, yeah, if you guys don't mind subscribing, I'm trying to hit like 400 subscribers by the end of the week. So
it's crazy.
It moves fast. Where do you guys see yourself, as entrepreneurs, in the next, I mean, like say 5-10 years? I mean, not to get too ahead of yourself, but like, what's the plan?
I mean, I would like to, it really depends. So e-commerce is cool. And I do think that you can make a lot of money in it. But I do think that over time, you know, we have constantly just been under the idea that we're just going to keep growing and growing and growing and moving to the just bigger and better things. So, I mean, what was the natural progression so far? I mean, in-person interactions, buying things, going to eBay dropshipping with less personal interactions, outsourcing people, then, you know, starting a YouTube channel to push content, affiliating on that. So everything's kind of just grown upon itself. And it's gotten to the point now where I think that once we start mastering other types, like Jason already knows how to do a lot of Shopify and other things on Amazon. I want to master Amazon dropshipping. After that, I think we would want to move into, at least us together, would want to move into like a service-based type things where, you know, you pay us a certain amount of money and then we'll do like a done for you type program. That's like a future goal. I would say maybe in a year and a half. It really depends on how fast we move. Things like that, more course content, obviously push that stuff. But eventually I would like to just first off buy a bunch of real estate, because that's, you know, possibly the closest thing to passive income, as long as you have people taking care of your properties for you.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And as long as people pay. And so, I mean, I kind of got my feet wet, and I knew that the deal that I did for my first rental property was like the one I had to do. Like my wrestling coach from high school came to me and was like, oh, this guy's selling, his wife's selling the house. One of my other wrestling coaches, like, do you want to buy it? And I was like, all right, it's off market deal. We can, you know, negotiate here. It's in a nice part of a not so great city, but it's in a nice part. So I knew that had to happen. And if I didn't do that, I probably would have, because I was dabbling on real estate for a while. And I knew that if I didn't do that, then I would have just bitched out for a while and maybe have never done it. So I knew that even if that wasn't the greatest deal, that was the one I had to do, because that was the easiest one that came to me at that point in time.
Right.
So, I mean, from there, I like to obviously get into real estate, but also like consulting, hopefully have enough business experience in the next 5 years or so to be able to just teach people how to grow their business, or people would pay me a certain amount of hours, money per hour to, you know, just for my time, which I already do have people one-on-one training, which I don't offer very much or advertise because it's not the best. It's not the most fun, but you know, you already see that that's a possibility, or I already see that that's a possibility.
Yeah.
So,
for me, I could see myself in the next 5 to 10 years, getting more into investments. I don't really see myself as one of those entrepreneurs that starts a business and just babies that business for 10, 20 years. Like, I have a brother who has an eBay business, a very, very successful eBay business selling coins. And he's been at it now for 6 years, I think. But that progression has been slow and very, very linear. And what I want to get into is basically either venture capitalism, which is, you know, investing in other business owners, or serial entrepreneurship, which is starting businesses, growing them really fast at an exponential rate, and then selling them off. And to me, that's more of a draw. I don't have an emotional connection to any one type of business at all. I look at it as a learning experience, and actually creating some type of value for customers within that market, and then selling it off and or handing it off to somebody who's going to be more diligent and more driven to have that company last over time.
Yeah.
So that's really what my focus is for the future. But for now, I'm still building up my experience. I'm still building up my capital. I'm still building all that stuff, because I'm at the end of the day, I've only been in it for 2.5, 3 years. There's entrepreneurs that have been doing it for their whole life. And, you know, you can't just overnight turn into a Shark Tank type guy. So I want to have it so that in the future I have the knowledge that I can just start a business and then sell it off, or invest in other business owners and reap the royalties, or reap the, 20% of their company kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I think that's fun too. To be able to go from business to business and be able to learn the different aspects of it, and I think that would be perfect if you feel like you are a serial entrepreneur, which I feel, I am too. And sometimes that could be a weakness, because you always want to move on to the new and shiny object.
Yeah.
But I've really promised myself that I'm going to, stick with eBay until I can get it, to where I want. I honestly don't know, what the potential is right now with where everything is going. I just opened up my second store for open box items, so I'm hoping that that'll go really well. But I think what you guys are doing, not just for the eBay community, and I hope that you guys continue to branch out from the eBay community, because I think that you have a lot of value to offer, just even outside of that, right? Your experiences, some of the things that you guys have done to get where you have. I think that that's important, right? I think it's nice that you guys share your story of the eBay journey, but if people, I think, begin to know, the true, Tom and Jason, I think you guys will provide a lot of value to people for sure.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. And I mean, that's kind of what I like doing. If my VA says, hey, Tom, can you look at these orders? Like, I don't know what's going wrong. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I have to go look back into eBay. How did you not figure this one out? But then if I'm like, all right, let's just go make this new video or whatever, then I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I love just talking to the camera, making videos and stuff like that. And I like, as Jason was saying, like serial entrepreneur type thing, I like learning new things. And the second that it becomes mundane and repetitive is when I'm either outsourcing or saying, fuck that. And recently it's just been outsourcing. I mean, and I see where you're talking about the next shiny object and stuff. I've looked into a lot of things before I really was just like, all right, cell phone flipping. And you really do have to get out of your comfort zone and get like acclimated to just doing that regularly, because none of this is comfortable or easy to do. And if it was, everybody would do it and nobody would quit. So, I mean, you have to work to a certain point and get yourself past that point. But once you get to a certain point, you realize that it starts to come basically second nature. Like making YouTube videos at first, I was like, I don't know about this. What if people don't like it or whatever? And then you post your first video and it sucks ass and you don't even know how to talk to a camera. And then after just months of just doing the same thing repetitively, just taking the constructive criticism and going with it, then it starts to build. You get a following, and next thing you know, you're in Nicaragua with Mark Augustine, drinking beers and having a great time and making content and basically paying for the entire trip while I was there, just with course sales and stuff. So
really, wow, that's awesome, man. And I think the cool thing about that is it's well deserved. I think you're kind of at that point right now where everything's just kind of boomeranging. And I think that's nice to see for you, just to kind of have, all of that like serendipity just kind of coming back your way. You know what I mean? Because one of the things that was cool, it was honestly surprising, was like you actually answer just about every single question that I ask.
Yeah, I try.
And that's like, I don't know if that's because, you feel obligated because I bought the course. I don't know if that's because, you're just passionate about helping people, but regardless of, what it is, you're still answering the question, and that to me is the value being provided for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I owe people something. I mean, they paid me money for stuff. Some people expect too much, and you're not one of them. Like, you'll come in and ask a question or whatever, we'll have a conversation, but then there's some people that message you like 17 times a day and you're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I have
one
a life
question after another.
I have a life, bro. Like, but I mean, the one thing that, to go back on what you're talking about, like the serendipity of things, it's like, I've only been at this or haven't had a job for almost 1 year now, less than 1 year. And you think about the people that go and they get a 4-year degree, and like I was looking at PhD programs at like MIT and just Virginia Tech and stuff like that. And I was like, I was on the verge. I'm talking with professors there, and I'm like, do I really want to do this? That's another 4 or 5, 6 years of me not making money, not doing anything, and just, working towards this one even more very specific niche that if you go, oh, fuck, I don't like this, then you're like, oh, I'm not just a chemical engineer. I'm a chemical engineer that specifies in 3D printing muscles and stuff like that. It's like, what else do you do after that? You can't really, that's what you're doing. You're stuck.
Right.
So I didn't like that aspect, and I didn't like the fact that I was just sitting there and felt stagnant. And I was like, well, even if I have a job, I can work that and then try to do something on the back end. But it's been like less than 1 year, and like I've put in a ton of work, but it just goes to show that you do 4 years of college, you come out, you have $200,000 in debt, and you're sitting there like, oh, what the fuck? And then you put in 1 year hard on e-commerce and you do it correctly, follow the right people, do the right research, and just really just be accountable for your own actions. And I definitely 100% already replaced the income from my job, no doubt in my mind. And then like last month, we made more money off course sales each than I did at my job as an engineer. So like, that's just goes to show how much the work you put in is. Yeah. It's not like we're even talking up the course to be this beautiful thing or anything. It's like, we say, this is hard work. You have to do it. Like, you have to do the hard work. It's not like we're saying, oh, it's going to be so easy.
Yeah.
Rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah.
Some people do though. And that's the shitty thing, you know, is
I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if that's what I did, in all honesty.
Yeah.
If that was what I was like, oh yeah, this is easy. I don't think I would be able to sleep comfortably at night.
To piggyback off of what you just said about being accountable for yourself, yes, we're both accountable for ourselves as entrepreneurs. One of the best advantages that we've had over a lot of other people is just having that accountability partner. Like, we always are calling, before we lived together, it was constantly, Tom would be calling me, I'd be calling him, messaging each other on WhatsApp, Facebook, constantly communicating with each other and saying, you know, did you see this update? Have you tried this before? Do you know anything about this program? And constantly going back on each other like that, you learn so much. And the bigger part of that is being accountable. So it's friendly competition, but at the same time, it's I don't want to give up on this business, because I know if I do, then Tom's going to be pissed, and vice versa. And it's not even so much that he's going to be pissed, but it's going to be like, dude, you put in all this effort, you put in all this time, and you're just going to quit. It's like, you can't do that. But if it was just me, I probably would have, or he probably would have if it was just him. It's just a lot easier to bounce ideas off of each other and to be accountable for each other. So I would suggest to anybody out there, if you have a friend who is also shows any type of willingness to be an entrepreneur, reach out to them, try to set up an arrangement so that you guys meet up every once in a while, or even the smallest thing, meeting up on weekends for an hour at a coffee shop, the smallest thing is going to help, because you'll know at the end of the week that, oh, I have to go see my business partner. I have to go see such and such. And I have to tell them what I did this week. What did you do this week?
I don't want to be a schmuck.
Yeah, I don't want to be a schmuck. And maybe it lends to our personalities. We're both very competitive people. We played sports growing up and in college, and I think we're both very competitive in that sense. But even if you're not a competitive person, I still think you can get some type of benefit from having an accountability partner.
Agreed. Yeah, you guys need
one thing to build on that. Like, what did we do? We went to our old school, WPI, and we would we went back into our fraternity, and we made one kid bring us to the library and log us in on his account so we could connect to the Wi-Fi. And then we started just going to WPI and meeting in the library there and just doing work on the once a week. And that's how we got our Wi-Fi. We went to Framingham State, which was in the middle of both of where we lived. And we just broke into their library, connected to their Wi-Fi, and started doing work there one time. So it's you gotta be putting in the work and be willing to do what it takes.
Yep, exactly.
It's kind of like if you lift it all, if you work out, I know a lot of people could relate to this. If you work out, it's so much easier to work out with somebody else, because you know that they're going to push you. And since he's been out here, I mean, we went to the gym the other day, and I started putting up much bigger numbers than I was doing before, just knowing that he's watching me, and he's probably saying, "Are you a pussy? Are you a pussy?" You know what I mean? So it gets in your head.
Yeah.
It makes you drive a little bit harder.
Absolutely.
Male mentality, Jason.
And I think the alpha.
That's just how we are.
And I'm sure, you guys both feel even more obligated now that you moved to Colorado, and, you guys kind of put, you guys jumped all in, right? Just kind of getting together, and that provides even more accountability for the two of you.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we come to the workspace every day. We were there yesterday. I was in pretty rough shape. Both of us were, but we were here. And I mean, we did something. We at least got working. That was a Sunday. That's the Sabbath day. You're not supposed to be working.
Oh man. Yeah, you guys need to hook me up with Brian for the partners program.
Yeah, I mean, you can have Brian. Doesn't Brian have somebody else?
He probably does. I think I got in on the second round, so I don't think you guys have done it yet. But anyway.
Actually, we're transferring all that over. Facebook.
Yes, Facebook has an integration now.
They have a fully built-in, basically a partner program. So I'm actually kind of setting that up right now,
awesome.
and put an announcement out. It's way more streamlined than the way I had it before.
Okay.
I just don't have the time to kind of pick through all the answers and match people up. It worked that one time, like in August, but I don't have time to throw into that. So I try to automate that kind of stuff for people.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
Did you guys have, anything else that you wanted to touch on? I know we're kind of, coming up on a couple hours now. So just wanted to make sure that, if there was anything that you guys wanted to go over or anything like that.
I mean, I think we talked about just about everything. Do you see?
We hit home on most of our experience and stuff.
I mean, the only thing I'd like to say is just, if you're looking to do something like this, first off, try to feel out the people that you're learning from, because if you have decent sense of judgment, I think that you'll be able to realize right away whether this person's legitimate or not, or whether they're just kind of bullshitting you to let you know what you want to hear. And then from there, I mean, it's just, you got to put in the work and you got to outsource. Like, you can't be complacent. If you're doing eBay 9 to 5 every day and you're fulfilling orders and doing all that, after maybe a while of doing it, then all you have is a job again. You just have a job, and that's all it is. You have a job. It's just that you're not in an office. It might feel a little bit better, but it's still a job. And once you start hiring other people to do all that stuff for you is when you really realize that you should be spending all of your time just building your business and trying to figure out new avenues and ways to make money, because there's
absolutely
things out there.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because you get stuck working in the business as opposed to working on the business, and then that's when things start becoming really mundane. You know what I mean?
And I hate that. I mean, I'm not down to do that.
Right, and that's when you fall out of love, right? Of things. It's like, hey, let's outsource this so that way I can work on other things to make sure that we're not just growing the business, but to make sure that it's sustainable through months like November.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And in closing, I just wanted to throw some encouraging words out there for the listeners. If you're looking to start a business, there's no better time than now. Do it sooner rather than later. If you're even if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, that time, I don't want people to look back on their lives. I certainly know I don't want to look back on my life and say, oh, I could have, or I should have done this when I was in my 20s or 30s. I want to do it now and know that I at least tried to do it. Even if I fail, I'll at least know I tried to do it. And there's not a better time than now. You look at the economy, our economy's doing unbelievable, probably the best in my lifetime. I'm 25, and there's so many things going on right now. Every single year, e-commerce is growing by about 7%. So if you're not jumping onto this e-commerce wave, you're missing out on a big opportunity. And anybody who says, oh, the glory days, the golden days of e-commerce have come and gone, it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that's just bullshit. It's growing every single year.
People are so lazy, nobody's going to go to the store in another 5 years.
Yeah.
You're just going to sit on your ass all day and just get injected with food or something. I don't know. It's just going to get bigger and bigger.
And as it gets bigger and bigger, there's more and more opportunities. You just have to remember the fundamentals of economics, which is provide the customer some sort of value. If you can provide your customers with value, then you're going to be successful in any type of business. And that's kind of my closing here.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I definitely, obviously appreciate what you've done for me in eBay dropshipping, what you do for the community, and, coming onto the channel. I'm still getting new at this, so that's why we do the intros at the end instead of at the beginning. But, again, thank you guys for coming on. And for those of you listening, I'll make sure to provide, again, links once we put the audio and the video up. We'll have all the links for you, so you guys can flood Tom and Jason with questions on Facebook.
Yes, that's what we need. I appreciate you having us. This is going to go on our YouTube channel as well, so everything should be, you'll probably get some people from that, and then, we'll just go from there.
Awesome, man. Thanks again.
Thanks, Anthony.
We'll see you guys. Have a great one.
All right. Thank
Take
you.
care.